It was around Nebraska when none of us could stay awake long enough to drive for 20 minutes at a stretch. It was dark, it was flat, and we had all been driving for 22 hours straight before that, having left New York, headed for California, our destination. It was September 15th, 2001, and all the planes were grounded. There was no telling when any flights were going to take off again. And we were all a bit edgy after watching 2 planes fly into the World Trade Center on that bright blue September 11th morning. So, without a clear plan in sight, we rented a van and drove across the country. After all, we needed to get the bride and groom and best man to the wedding in just a few short days. Our plan was to drive straight across the country, I-80 most of the way. That took Pennsylvania most of the way. Actually, it took a long time to get out of Pennsylvania. And we weren't going to stop at the Giant Potato or the Grand Canyon on our way out there, just get there as quickly as possible. Our journey out there was marked by flags, American flags everywhere, hanging from bridges, from overpasses, hanging on the top of cranes at construction sites, slapped to the back of cars, kids waving them. And I can be cynical about it right now, but that moment, it was a welcome sight. After days of smelling electrical current in the air and seeing bits and paper, office paper flying like so much snow over our home in Brooklyn, New York. 48 hours after our departure from New York, we got there to California, to the open arms of my friend Chelsea's family, the bride-to-be. And everybody was so relieved because we were gonna have this wedding and we needed a wedding, something awful. But before any of that could happen, the real work had to begin. Grooming. The days around September 11th and our subsequent trip out there were very hurried, and I was desperately in need of some glamour. I could see it in the eyes of my friend's family. They looked at me with a bit of pity and a lot of horror. So an appointment was made for me in a salon, and it was in Carmel Valley, California, and my husband dropped me off, and I felt like I had dropped into a Sundance catalog. It was so quaint and high-end, rustic, hemp and organic quaint. And everybody had like the perfect amount of sun-kissed hair, you know, and the perfect amount of shiny face, and it felt like you were looking through a Vaseline lens at the whole damn world. And I entered, it was very, disorienting, and I entered into the salon feeling very schlubby, feeling like a before picture, desperately in need of an after picture counterpart. And I was met by Joan. She was lovely. She brought me to her chair. She must have known my story because she looked at me also with a little pity and horror and said, "You drove all the way out here from New York. Let's see what we can do for you." And my body relaxed as I sank into her chair, and she scrubbed my head and gave me a nice color and cut. And I thought that she was gonna just go ahead and style me, blow me out. But instead, she looked at me in the mirror, through the mirror, and said, "I think I'm gonna send you over to get your brows done." Facescaping was just not totally my thing. I never really mastered the pluck. I couldn't see the real meaning of standing in front of the mirror and weeding out all the stray hairs, only to know they would grow back again very shortly. It just was not how I wanted to spend my time. It was kind of how I felt about my nails, or my bikini area. I didn't really want to bother with them until I was super dressed up and wanted to go somewhere, or I was on the beach and I was tucking in my strays, wishing I was somebody who cared a whole lot about it. So I was brought over to a lovely woman in her 70s. She was wearing, in the salon, a tweed Chanel suit. She had a little jacket, a little tight skirt, and a pair of pearls and high heels. And I thought, what is she doing with a Chanel suit on in a salon? That's really weird. Her hands were shaky, but they were perfectly manicured. Right? And she was tanned and nipped and tucked and lifted in all the right places. She looked like she had a lifetime of glamour. And so I gave myself over to her. I leaned back, and Chanel suit leaned forward, and she took her perfectly manicured finger and went over my brow and said, "You like to keep them natural, huh?" And I thought, is there some other choice that I had? I had no idea. I felt the hot wax on my very delicate brows. Rub, 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 rip. And instantly I remembered why I never, never, never do this. My eyes instantly began to tear. The other side, rub, 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 rip. She checked her work. She put 2 fingers over my brows to make sure that the pain would stop. The pain did not stop. Do you usually get red? She said. I usually don't really wax my brows. I don't know. I deal with them some other way. She leaned in a bit closer. Can I do the mustache? I did not realize that a few stray hairs on my upper lip constituted the mustache. I feel like they're kind of light. I don't really think anybody's going to notice. Oh, honey, it's an outdoor wedding, right? Yes, you'll be talking to people in the sunlight, and it'll just glance across, and people will notice. You don't want that. She was right. I did not want that. This was going to be a beautiful wedding in a beautiful setting with my very best friends. I did not come all the way to sip Napa Valley wines wearing an East Coast mustache. No. Take it off, I said. The wax was applied a bit hotter this time over my lip and under my lower lip and my chin and my neck and my sideburns, I think is what you would call that. Suddenly I realized I didn't have just the mustache, I had the full beard. Rip, 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 ah! Are we done? I said. Oh, yes, honey. Is swelling normal for you? Chanel's suit took me back over to Joan, and that is when I knew things had gone horribly wrong. Joan's face went from a smile to a frown to confusion to shock to anger. Damn it! You never do the wax that hot with a redhead. Get me some ice! And the place went crazy. I wanted to stop everybody just to say, I'm not a real redhead. This is not my natural color. It's probably just more of a light brunette. And then I caught a glimpse of myself in the mirror. Prize fighter was the word that came to mind. I was swollen everywhere. My eyes, my chin, my neck, everything. I looked like I had been in an 8-round fight and lost. Joan started calling people over. Cindy, come look at this. Val, you gotta see this. Jill, this is why we tell you not to do the wax that hot. This should never happen. A client came over. She was dressed in a salon cape. Are you going to the Vermeil wedding too? I hope that heals in time. Good luck, honey. My Chanel suit lady was nowhere to be found. I applied the ice packs in a rotation while Joan did the rest of my hair, grumbling and shaking her head. I couldn't hear what she was saying over the hairdryer. She was not happy. My husband came to pick me up. His face dropped upon looking at me. Wax accident, I said. Let's get out of here. First aid cream, ice, and minimal talking at the rehearsal dinner the night before. The wedding day, my last concern was whether the sunlight was going to just brush against my hairs on my upper lip, and more about whether this red map of a wax gone bad was ever going to stop throbbing. The day was bright and sunny and beautiful with a blue sky. The guys looked perfect in their suits. And when my friend Chelsea came walking down the aisle, all my pain disappeared. This was love. This was stunning, beautiful, risk it all for everything love. And I suddenly realized what the purpose of beauty in the world is. It heals. And when I saw Chelsea and her father come walking down that grassy slope, their faces beaming, it healed everything. My brow, my lip, my head, my heart. Why are things so exquisitely beautiful? Because in that beauty is hope. And that was probably the first bit of hope I had felt in a few days. I try to remember this when I am most despairing. Put on some damn lipstick. Throw on a dress. Pluck a few stray hairs, weed your garden, your metaphoric garden, your real garden, make some beauty happen no matter what it is, whatever that means to you. Not because it's superficial, but because it matters. Because it's an act of defiance. Because it can carry us through to the next day, to do what needs to get done next. Right? To drive across the country, to celebrate love, to wave a flag if that's your thing, to carry on. At the reception, the band played that song, September, you know it? Do you remember the 21st night of September? Love was changing the minds of pretenders. I never knew that line. While chasing the clouds away. And everybody got out on the dance floor. Everybody was on the dance floor, and there was this huge collective sigh of relief. We were there. We were together. We were celebrating love, and it was beautiful. In the middle of the dance, I caught a glimpse of the woman from the salon, you know, the one who said it would be there. She swiped a discreet finger across her upper lip, and she gave me a huge thumbs up, and we danced through the night. Thank you.